Moscow Kremlin, Red Square are symbols of a huge and powerful state. It was here during great historical events and national holidays that rulers met with their subjects. This square became a theater of history where the greatest spectacle in the world was staged. At the beginning of the century, it was also a place where throngs of people met to purchase everything they needed at fairs and bazaars. The last Russian Tsar, Nikolai II, met with his people here in the square. During the Civil War, he and his entire family were executed by the Bolsheviks. The first communist leader, Vladimir Lenin, made passionate speeches to the people already from a high rostrum. Lenin died under mysterious circumstances that have not yet been fully cleared up. According to the Asian custom, the embalmed body of the leader of the world proletariat was placed in a mausoleum for all the people to see. The tall, still wooden stands of the mausoleum became the stage where the bloodiest acts of historical drama were played out. The future dictator, Joseph Stalin, can hardly be seen in the throngs of Lenin's successors. But even then, he had started to act. The number 2 man in the Leninist leadership, a fanatical revolutionary, founder of the Red Army, a passionate speaker, Leon Trotsky, became Stalin's first victim. Following him, all the associates of the old leader, heroes of the revolution, leaders of the party and the state, began to disappear from that stage one by one. They were branded enemies of the people, and their fate was death. At the beginning, the nominal head of the state, Mikhail Kalinin, took the salute at military parades very simply, almost in a home-like fashion. As the years passed, the influence of the army grew. The country was preparing for war and was building up its military muscles. But Stalin viewed the talented and popular military commanders as a threat to his one-man rule. And so he liquidated practically the entire commanding staff of the Red Army, marshals and generals who had won glory on the battlefields of the Civil War. And now, Stalin stands over the body of Lenin in the newly built mausoleum. He is now the main hero of the drama. The dictator has already shed rivers of blood. Millions of people are suffering and dying in detention camps. But the people's love for the leader grows even more. Now, poems and songs are being written about him. Meanwhile, he is doing away with his own supporters, if any of them has the slightest doubt as to his grandeur or if they knew too much. Among them, are the midget butcher, the all-powerful chief of the security bodies, Nikolai Yezhov, and this popular youth leader. The action on Red Square acquires even greater scope, and the pomp and splendor which Stalin loved so much. The main hit in the drama was a demonstration of military might that was to throw fear into the hearts of others and instill confidence in the hearts of our own people. However, this confidence turned into overconfidence, which resulted in millions of losses in the Second World War that was won by the sacrifices and heroism of the ordinary people. After the victorious end to the war, Stalin's personality cult acquires a scope unprecedented in world history. He is now the leader of the whole of progressive mankind, the genius in all spheres of knowledge, the great military commander with the title of Generalissimo. Next in line in the hierarchy were his pupils, the leaders of communist parties in various countries. Incidentally, one of them, the dictator of North Korea, Kim Il-sung, is still in power. An obligatory ritual of such a grand spectacle was the presentation of flowers, especially picked by children, creating an image of the kind-hearted and thoughtful father of the peoples. These people came to Red Square to have a look at a living God. While the great helmsman was already masterminding how to do away with his closest friends and associates. However, his plans were not destined to materialize. Living gods can rule everything on earth except time. Stalin's death caused hitherto unseen sorrow and grief, and for a certain period of time, he became Lenin's neighbor in the mausoleum. At the funeral, an oath of allegiance to the deceased was pronounced by the three most probable contenders for the role of leader: the head of government, Georgy Malenkov; the cruel and corrupted head of the security bodies, Lavrenti Beria; and a man who had survived by a miracle, a representative of the old guard, Vyacheslav Molotov. At the next May Day holidays, the leadership of the country looked like a bunch of gangsters who were left without their godfather. Stalin's successors persistently demonstrated their friendship and consolidation, but were ready at any moment to grab each other by the throat in the fierce struggle for power. The most dangerous of all was Beria, for in his hands he held the awesome apparatus of the Secret Service. If the power falls into his hands, the fate of all the rest was quite apparent. However, he is still unaccustomed to it, and he is obviously nervous. Meanwhile, a touching scene of brotherly love is being played out before the people. 2 months later, as a result of a conspiracy headed by Malenkov, with whom he is now embracing, Beria was executed as an enemy of the people. After that, the contenders for the main role were removed from the stage in a more liberal way. They were simply dumped into the garbage pile of history, as Trotsky put it. None of the favorites came to power. A dark horse won, Nikita Khrushchev. Khrushchev proved to be a comedy actor in the role of the hero. He brought along with himself a new team made up of middle echelon party apparatchiki. He was an eccentric and contradictory figure. He unraveled the cult of Stalin, but he too was fond of demonstrating military might and threatened the West with ballistic missiles. He compelled the entire country to sow corn, hoping in this way to feed the people. He promised to outstrip America and to build communism within a few years. But he did not manage. As a result of a treacherous conspiracy, he was dispatched into political oblivion. The mastermind of the conspiracy, Leonid Brezhnev, Khrushchev's closest associate, became the leader of the country. Brezhnev's team promised to correct the mistakes made by Khrushchev and to build genuine socialism. But the result was total ruin of the economy and unprecedented corruption. Bootlicking functionaries carried portraits of the leaders, handsome and young, out on Red Square. But time turned them into feeble, senile old men. The historical drama turned into a farce. Brezhnev and his associates, one after another, departed to their rendezvous with the founders of Marxism-Leninism. After Brezhnev, the Kremlin elders nominated for the role of leader the most powerful figure among themselves, the former chief of the KGB, Yuri Andropov. Severe reprisals and purges of the leadership ranks were expected from him. However, the days of that mysterious man were already numbered. However, the old men did not give up, and not having totally lost all their sense of humor, appointed to the post of head of state the half-dead Konstantin Chernenko, who lasted less than a year in this office. It could not go on like that any longer. And this is when the winds of perestroika started to blow across the country. A young political leader appeared on the political stage, Mikhail Gorbachev. He surpassed all his predecessors. In record short time, he got rid of practically all these people who had brought him to power. He picked a new team and managed to even change it by half. But first, there occurred an event which completely changed the nature of the drama. For the first time, Red Square was filled not with humble and obedient throngs, gloriously greeting the next leaders, but with people who were free, people awakened by Gorbachev's glasnost. Power to the people, for your freedom and ours. And hundreds of other slogans of various parties and movements were in their hands. The people were no longer spectators. They themselves wanted to play the main role. So what is happening? The rules of the theater have been overturned, and the leadership of the country is walking off the stage, leaving the spectators to play out the rest of the drama by themselves? What is that? The end of a tradition stretching out from the Tsar throughout all the years of Soviet power? Who is now going to mount the stand on the mausoleum? And will the mausoleum itself exist? Wait a minute. The curtain has not yet come down on the stage of Red Square near the Kremlin walls.